So let's get to the fights. The first fight is that at the Antarctic, and between Godzilla and Ghidorah. Now, again, a lot of people said you couldn't see the monsters too well, and it's like, hey, whatever, whatever floats your boat, whatever. The Godzilla firing his. The best part of the whole thing was basically Godzilla firing his atomic breath, and Ghidorah just head's kind of moving off to the side and just let it go, and then they just duck, fire a tri-beam blast at him. Like, Jesus. Knocks him on his ass. How anybody is still running, being anywhere near Godzilla when he's falling. Which there's another scene in later. It's like, no, this should have caused a lot more damage than that. But Godzilla gets knocked down by this tri-beam. Then Godzilla gets up and Ghidorah decides to F off. So he gets up and flies away. So this is where we go hit the Rodan reveal. Okay. Rodan. Rodan in this fucking movie. Oh, you poor, poor bastard. So Rodan ends up... they're trying to get Rodan away from the village before he kills everyone that's still there. Hasn't been evacuated. Well, no, they're trying to lure him to Ghidorah, because Ghidorah is initially on his way to Washington, D.C. Why? I don't know. But he's heading towards Washington, D.C. So they decide they're going, and since Rodan's not really doing anything, he decides they're going to pull him over to Ghidorah to get him away from initially it's to get him away from the city, but they're like, hey, maybe he can fight Ghidorah? You poor, simple bastards. Poor, simple bastards. Doesn't work. Oh, man. Rodan, basically, I don't know what others would think, but Rodan, Rodan gets, so Ghidorah's got a humongous hurricane. I can't remember what category it was. I think they said it was a category 5 hurricane around him. And Rodan's coming. They fly right into this thing and have to duck to avoid Ghidorah. Rodan flies and sees Ghidorah coming, and he's like, oh, fuck this, and kind of backs off a little bit. He doesn't, because he doesn't want to ram into Ghidorah. Ghidorah has no issue with this. Rodan tries to act like, yeah, I'm the bigger flying bird here. And that works about as well as Starscream trying to put his dominance over Megatron. This is why I kind of laugh at the thought of Rodan basically being Starscream in this movie. Because it's like every time he tries to assert his dominance, he gets basically either this nasty look that makes him back down, or he gets what Ghidorah does, and Ghidorah, using his side heads, grabs each wing, spreads him out, and then the middle one just blasts him. I mean, it is such a Megatron Starscream moment. It's like, oh, how can you not think that? So like I said, this is where the second fight with Godzilla also happens. Because that wasn't much of a fight. It was just Megatron beating on Starscream. So Godzilla shows up, and and Ghidorah decides he's going to go for round two. So they have a fight in the ocean, and of course Godzilla is going to get the upper hand because now he's on his turf. Unfortunately, the military had this thing called the oxygen destroyer. I appreciate that because that's a Toho thing. But yeah, they decide they're going to use this thing to take out both Godzilla and Ghidorah. Little problem with that though. Though Godzilla is able to get the upper hand and eventually drags Ghidorah into the water, when they use the oxygen destroyer, it does the job a little bit. It does the job, but it doesn't kill Ghidorah. Ghidorah, having Kevin's been lost, he's a casualty here. So you got two-headed Ghidorah with a big ass and long neck. Flies over, and just to freaking put a damper on Rodan, goes into Rodan's volcano and just nests there. That Rodan also calls all the other Titans from around the world and begins directing them to basically cause chaos everywhere. Oh, God. This. Of course, Godzilla's not dead. They find out. Mothra breaks open from her cocoon to find Godzilla, help them find him, and they find out that Godzilla's just nesting somewhere himself, taking a long ass nap that they have to help him with. This is where the doctor has his moment where he takes a nuclear device into this nuclear radiated to hell area that Godzilla's sleeping in, and he sets it off, waking in like the loudest alarm clock and the world has ever seen. Meanwhile, meanwhile, we got Washington D.C. under attack. Rodan's flying around this hurricane. The military's trying to get their attention and yank them out into the ocean or something. Oh, the military. God damn. How? I admit the monsters were smaller in Skull Island, but god damn. You know, how many years have they had to prep all this? This is kind of like my issue with Batman. It's like, dude, you are a hoarding asshole. You hoard all this stuff. You claim you trust this guy running these people, but you don't give him any tools to do his damn job. And this is basically Monarch. They studied all these monsters, and it's like, okay, cool, you studied all these monsters. And you didn't think at all that maybe, just maybe, you should upgrade the equipment. I mean, even the Japanese upgraded their equipment to fight the Godzilla and them. Everywhere from laser tanks to their own giant robots to special. Well, the only weapon they created was the oxygen destroyer, which did absolutely squat. But yeah, it's like, what did you guys do? You still got bullets. You still using the same old explosives you had whenever, and you never thought what would happen if these things got out. Outside of, they're going to cause a lot of destruction, so we better not tell anybody of their existence or there'll be panic.